We will be looking at how we communicate with the people that are in emergency evacuation points in the building. In this particular case, you have a telephone there that you can communicate directly with every fourth floor in this building. So as you can see, every fourth floor, they have a spot for you to talk to that phone on that floor. Now we have a standard fire alarm panel. You're going to have mostly greens, but as you can see, they have yellows here today. That means there's some fault in the system that they're dealing with. In this particular case, you see they have some hot work going on in a specific location at the second floor. So they have their hot work permit and they've disabled the devices so they don't set off the fire alarm in that area. They also have their periodic testing frequency on these tags here from the fire alarm company. You can see where you can have the intercom system available to you to use. You have the fire phone. This is not the one calling Russia. This is the one that's used to contact firefighters on other floors. How do they communicate? Let's go to that next. We've got our emergency telephone handsets here. With those, they can take the phones, plug them in at a specific location on an upper level, and have communication with the fire command center. So we have our fire alarm graphic annunciator. What this allows you to do is determine which floor is in alarm or in supervisory. We're going to show you what the yellow or the red would look like. Right. Now, for high rise, they have what they call fan controls. With that, you notice that the fan control is all mostly in green, except for a couple of places it's red. That's okay. What we don't want to see is where you start seeing yellows or ambers. That would be a problem. That's something you want to contact the building engineer about if you see that. Okay, in the fire command center, you're going to have your elevator recall primary location. Here shows the 3 banks of elevators, shows you where their recall floor is and which bank controls which section of the building. This is your primary elevator control. You have your firefighter key available in here. Each of you knows how to do that from the elevator itself, turning it on, recalling it. We're not going to do that in this location, but that would be doing part of the inspection that you'd be looking for, is that these keys are in the proper location. Here we have the fire sprinkler riser inside the fire pump room, along with the backflow preventer. All right, we have the diesel supply of 500 gallons for the fire pump. Here we have the fire pump for a 17-story building. This is the engine. This is the pump. Here's the controller for the fire pump. This is a no-touch area. The 2 things we're looking at on this controller is, here is the maintenance for the engine. Here is the periodic state fire marshal testing from Golden Gate Fire Protection. You want to make sure the dates are current for the annual and the 5-year. All right, now we're on an upper level of this high rise, and we're going to do the inspection of the elevator lobby. In this particular case, you'd have 16 of these to do. One of the things you want to check, just like we do with all of our exit doors to make sure they fully open, is our smoke control lobby doors. This is what the doors should do when they properly latch and close. With our evacuation plans, they have to be at every stair and every elevator. Okay, now we are at the egress route, the exit route from a particular floor. Notice you still have the sign. Now we're going to check the doors. going down the egress stairs. So part of what you want to do, especially in high rise, is make sure there's no obstructions to the egress path to the stairs. Your vertical stairs are the primary means of egress for people. They cannot get out above the 7th story without these egress stairs working. Generally, what's going to happen is the door opens this way, but does not necessarily open from the opposite side. All right, remember, part of the egress element is the smoke seal has to be intact vertically and horizontally at the top. The egress door will function from the egress side, but not on the exit side. Because of the size of the floors, you're going to have a 3-dimensional fire extinguisher sign, not just the pasted on label, but a 3-dimensional so you can see it from multiple directions. One of the critical elements in an inspector's job is to make sure high-rise are compliant with the fire code. This is a continuation of our high-rise engine company inspection. The page you have here in front of you is from the California Fire Code. It's talking about the Fire Command Center. It states there in the fire code that when required by other sections of this code, and in all buildings classified as high-rise buildings by the California Building Code, having occupied floors located more than 75 feet above the lowest level of fire department access. So what's required? It talks about in the right column the required features. I'm not going to read every single one, but just certain ones that are applicable to your engine company inspection. The fire alarm system zoning annunciator panel is in this room. The annunciator unit visually indicating the location of the elevators, the firefighters' control panels for your smoke control systems. There's a control for unlocking interior exit stairway doors simultaneously, because many of the high-rise buildings, from a security standpoint, or the police department or sheriff's department, they want those doors to lock so that you can't use the stairways to access that floor. The emergency and standby power status indicators for the systems in the building are located here. Your fire pump status indicators. A key element is the schematic building plans are in this room, so you can roll those out and see where certain things are. Your building inspection information card includes the property name, address, the number of floors in the building, above and below grade. Your building emergency contact information, such as your building engineer and their respective work phone number, cell phone number, and email address. It continues on the left column with showing you your each exit access stairway and exit stairway designation and floors served, because some serve only certain floors to make it convenient for people. They're called convenient stairs between a couple of different floors. Your exit stairways that are pressurized, those that provide with emergency lighting, your elevator machine rooms, the capacity of all fuel oil tanks and the location of the emergency generator, especially in the larger buildings because of the noise and vibration. The generator building is usually a separate small one-story building adjacent to these high rises. Your fire protection system information with the location of your standpipes, your fire department connections, your automatic sprinklers, and any hazardous material information. Within the room it has a work table so you can spread the plans out. It shows you your generator supervision devices, your public address system, your elevator emergency and standby power selector switches, and a master switch for unlocking elevator lobby doors. Those are all security elements. Let's walk through a building in the area of Emeryville, California. This particular plan and program is for the occupants so that they know what to do. You may recall that in the 1990s when they had the World Trade Center bombing, it took 8 hours to evacuate the building. Well, we don't have any buildings that tall, but by providing this information to the tenants, it allows them to expeditiously exit the building in the right direction. On the next page of this emergency plan, It talks about who the emergency contacts are, what fire prevention requirements the tenants have, what to do under a bomb threat, an earthquake, or power failure, and any medical emergencies. With the emergency plan for the tenants, what you're going to find is enough information for them to be obligated to follow this emergency plan and evacuation plan. There are tenant responsibilities with the evacuation drills that they have to do. It includes the emergency evacuation team responsibilities, how they interact with the property manager, the engineering manager, the security guards, the engineer on duty, and what the floor wardens and tenant wardens would do. An example of their emergency location that they need to know about is going to be a diagrammatic to get them out of the way. We don't want them in the parking lot. We don't want them in the fire lanes. So this allows them to understand once they exit the building to go to the far area away from the building so they're not in your way to do the job. With relocation in these buildings, you're going to have some type of matrix. This is not from the same building we were just talking about, but just an example of a relocation matrix. You notice they have colored diamonds, colored squares, colored triangles, colored circles there to identify which floor is to evacuate 3 or 4 floors below the fire floor. As an example, you can see that this particular building has 25 floors. The diagrammatic that I showed you just prior to that starts with like the 17th floor would relocate 4 floors down to the 13th floor, and so on and so forth. Everything below the 6th floor will just automatically go to the exit. And it identifies how and where they're supposed to go based on Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations. So thank you for being able to spend a little time looking at this video. I'm sure it's been useful to you. If you have further questions, please contact your battalion chief or fire prevention.